Welcome to Knights of Roleplay, an adventuring podcast. This is an actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Royalty-free music provided by Kevin MacLeod, Michael Gelfie Studios, Plate Mill Games, and Tabletop Audio. And now, to adventure. Hello listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode of Knights of Roleplay. I'm DM Chris. Today's episode is another Knights Roundtable. Episode number 6 was our first roundtable. Today we will answer a lot of questions pertaining to the 5 years that our podcast has been active, along with a few other questions just for fun. I also want to mention that I'm experimenting with a new mixer for the episode, for this episode, in the hope that our episodes will have music in stereo. So here's hoping the sound quality for this episode turns out well. So why don't we get into the first question, which is, what has been your favorite Knights of Roleplay moment so far? And I will start with Sarah, who's smiling.
Why am I always the hot seat?
It's not me.
It's not fair. I want my table position changed.
Yes, because
That was my favorite moment right there.
Sarah sits to the left of the DM's chair, so she kind of gets picked for a lot of things.
Stucky.
I'm often the first one that gets put in the hot seat.
Honestly, that as DM, so I am trying to pick on Greg and Kate more often because they sit on the far end of the table.
The nosebleed sections? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if I'd call it the nosebleed.
The out of the way section.
Yeah.
We're all of like 2 feet away from everybody. Favorite moment of Knights of Roleplay? Gosh.
Yeah.
There's been so many good ones. I think my favorite moment was the creation, the last minute creation, mind you, of Dirkris,
Yay.
the kobold barbarian, who was literally being made as a character sheet as John was introducing the campaign.
And yet he's had such...
And yet...
They have had such a impact on us
They
already.
were probably one of the most fun characters I've ever played, and the most alive in my head.
Awesome.
Not anymore, though, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Rest in peace. Chris. Well, pieces.
Kate, what do you think has been your favorite Knights of Roleplay moment?
Geez. I've got to cheat and do 2 because they're totally different flavors. But
that allowed?
that's
I guess
so. Love you.
There are no rules at this table.
In the
Come
realm
on.
of like funny and hysterical, and I may not be the only one who speaks to this, the TPK that occurred at the end of Tombs of Annihilation. Spoilers, sorry. But
I mean, the episode's
just
called TPK.
the transition of the group from like at the beginning when Chris first had us playing, even long before the podcast, when the group took like player death much more seriously and got really uptight if things started to go south, and I myself included, right, just to have the group go through that and get wiped out and just find it to be absolutely hysterical the whole time. It was just, that was a blast.
That was actually one of my goals in running that. Was I was actually thinking that the tomb was going to be a lot more brutal than it actually was, and I was expecting each of you to go through like 3 or 4 characters.
I mean, I made
just
10
to get over that hump
characters
of
just to
characters die.
So that was just fun and different. And then on a more serious note of cool moments, like I remember, I think it was actually the very first episode in Spacefarers when pandemic locked us down and we went on to Zoom for the first time, and we were all very concerned about like how natural would the role play feel, how would it go with us being remote. And then it happened to be that we had a point in that episode where all of the characters got in a place where they expounded on a bunch of backstory and why things were the way they were. And I just remember that some really, really poignant role play, surprisingly, coming out of the very first episode that we were all remote. So,
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the couch in my living room of my old house that night and bawling my eyes out after. Yeah.
so that's me.
Yeah. So, yeah.
John? What's your favorite Knights of Roleplay moment?
Hard to say favorites.
Okay, Greg?
'cause yeah.
Why you gotta be so mean to John?
I thrive on it from him.
It's true, you are kind of a masochist.
Events that stick out in my brain, though. First is probably the freaking fairy.
Yes, that one.
About the freaking fairy.
That's true. I'm forgetting about Candlekeep syndrome.
I was down. We're in a cave. I was trying to be, all fancy, fey fairy and throwing out, fey magics and stuff
Color
like
spray.
that. Color spray.
That was my first interaction with color spray, actually.
And it didn't work.
It did not work.
The enemy saved out of it, and they're like, "Who brought the freaking fairy?" Because it's so very typical.
Neither the first nor the last moment that John tried to do something really unconventional.
I love trying to do
Which I
things
think is
unconventional.
great.
Chris hates it when I try to do things unconventional.
Not true.
No, but you always have this sour look on your face
Not true.
whenever I do.
I can tell you from being in the position of Chris with you as a player that I love when you do something unconventional. However, my planning brain doesn't love when you do something unconventional.
Yeah, like the time I tried to use the rope trick with Strax, and I thought I was being really clever, and Chris is just like, "No, it doesn't actually work." Oh, it was a good idea. I guess that wasn't such a good
I didn't
idea.
mind when Ratchet took himself out of the fire trying to cast Tsunami.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that predates our podcast.
It
though.
does.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, if we were
Okay.
going to do things predating the podcast, probably the.
We're not.
We're not going down that road.
This is Knights of Roleplay moments,
Okay,
John.
fine. But I had a lot of fun with Ratchet. I'm going
I'm
to
just
bring
giving an
Ratchet back
example of John
someday.
doing something very unconventional.
Yes. I'm bringing Ratchet back someday.
Oh,
I
God.
promise.
Okay, that's cool.
Was it Ratchet? It was,
Yes,
it
it
was
was
Corin
back.
who tried to cast Tsunami.
Back again.
That's
maybe
it,
it was
wasn't it?
Maybe it was.
Yeah, that was Corin.
Back again.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
that
still
your
bringing-
is that your favorite moment?
The freaking berry.
I'll probably have to go with that for now, yeah.
Greg, what's your favorite Knights of Roleplay moment?
I actually will agree with what Kate was saying when after my character died in Tomb of Annihilation because I missed a roll. And so when that character died, who was providing all the other characters with the that shield of protection.
aura, yep.
The Paladin aura, yeah.
And then I started to become
Covering our butts, as it would be.
the evil DM's assistant in Mayhem. That for me was fun, especially like I was laughing the whole entire time
Rolling
because it was
beholder eye
rolling
beams.
all the damages and it's like, oh, this one's going down. Oh no, this one's going down. Oh no.
You get
Yeah, basically.
you get a disintegration ray. You get a disintegration ray.
You get one too. And I was just like, oh my god, like this is crazy. It was just hilarious.
I don't know that we've ever laughed harder as a
No.
table other than that episode.
Especially when we're in the middle of being slaughtered.
Yeah.
From the DM side, that was a fun time,
Yeah.
too.
And I felt equally evil because I was contributing to your death, which I felt bad about, but also I was very gleeful too of that situation.
Don't feel bad about that. Revel in it.
Cool.
And I think also too, to kind of piggyback on what Kate said a little bit, I think just being able to adapt to different things too, like we've been through a lot, everyone has in terms of the pandemic and having to pivot and, do different things. Pivot. Over the course of time, when we're on Zoom for 2 years and then we start to come back together. I think probably one of my favorite moments in that case is going to be the first time we actually played together in person.
Yeah.
After being away from each other for 2 years. That was kind of emotional, I think, too.
Yes.
Sure.
All the feels. All
Yeah.
the feels.
Sure.
Yeah, I was so awkward. More than usual.
What about you?
Mine is what I already told John, which was playing Ro in the last part of the Stygian Gambit. where we, spoiler alert, we use the Minotaur and the baboons.
Cat Minotaur.
And
Cat Minotaur.
there was like fire and stuff. And
That was definitely chaos incarnate.
No one survived.
No. We survived, so
Yeah,
not
that
no
doesn't
one.
matter. Who cares about all the patrons?
I mentioned that was probably the most fun that I've had in my entire D&D career, and I still stand by it. That's my favorite Nets of Roleplay moment.
You're gonna make me blush.
I had a real good time too as part of that situation.
You did. Okay, let's see. So, the next question is, what do you think has been the most challenging aspect of doing a podcast over the last 5 years? So, what has been the most challenging aspect of doing a podcast? John, what do you think?
Adapting to not being able to eat while playing.
Need my snacks. I'll toast to that.
I want my snacks. Can't do that on mic because crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh. For the most part, my style doesn't really change whether I'm on mic or off. I mostly just ignore the mic. So, I mean, I might ham things up a little bit more, but to me, whether I'm on the podcast or not doesn't really affect me too much that I notice.
Okay.
Other than, like I said, not being able to eat my snacks.
Okay.
I like my snacks.
What about you, Kate?
Geez, that's a tough one. I mean, I do think that like the mic awareness, even having been a singer and stuff, like it's kind of, it is different if you're like in a choir with the type of miking that we do versus having to be on mic for speaking, especially when it's like I'm very animated. I talk with my hands, I move around, so sometimes I'm not always where I need to be.
We all still
usually
wave
my
when we say
projection
goodbye
makes
to
up for it, but not always if it's
Sure.
like a softer moment. So yeah, I mean, I think that, and then I mean, you might speak to this too on a more personal note, like just the family juggling. It's a little different. We were able to be a little more flexible when we were playing without the constraints of sound recording, and we have kiddos who are getting older, and that comes with its challenges. So having to deal with like sitters, and if we don't have a sitter, you know, it becomes much more difficult to play, and time constraints based on that, right? Like we can no longer do Friday nights, which was always like my favorite. Sunday afternoons are still good. I'm just happy to see my friends and play D&D, but there's definitely, I think, more scheduling challenges because the recording is involved. Yeah.
Okay. Greg, what has been the most challenging for you?
I think a lot of it is the fact that I'm more of a soft-spoken person, so maybe sometimes my voice doesn't come across a lot.
It's never been an issue from a technical standpoint.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know how I sound when listening to myself, to be honest with you, so I don't know if I'm yelling or if I'm, just being my normal self, because usually I'm a very calm person. So, that may be like a voice for radio, as the saying goes. But I think, too, a lot of it, I would say, as far as dealing with sicknesses and how that has come a normal part of our gathering, with people getting sick here, people getting sick there, and relying on technology to kind of bridge those gaps, I think has been challenging at times, because you can't always control how technology is going to respond to something.
Yeah.
Whether you're not able to hear someone or you're not able to see someone, all of those things kind of come into play when you're using technology as a bridge for when you're not in person together.
Sure.
And we've had a lot of those over the course of this 5 years where we've been trying to bridge that gap when we're not able to be in person at the table here. So
you thrive on the social aspect of the game.
I
and
do.
When that doesn't happen, just in order for us to continue the podcast, it just kind of, you find
it's
that
more
a little
blah for me, just because
It definitely feels more flat when we're not in person.
yeah.
Because we're not like in each other's like, I'm a hippie drippy witchy girl, so we're not like in each other's auras and like really like feeding off of each other as much. I feel like, because there's internet and the computer between us. Like,
I'm very much a people person, and I thrive on those energies, and it's
Sure.
a different kind of energy when you're not physically with someone. You're just seeing them. So sort of like watching television, the way you're there, but you're not really there.
Gotcha. Okay, Sarah? It's been challenging for you.
Oh, I'm supposed to be here? Okay.
Mentally and physically, yes.
Oh boy, that's a challenge right in and of itself. Being on the podcast. Well,
What's been challenging?
What's been challenging?
Yeah.
So having our D&D sessions transition into a podcast has had both a positive and a difficult impact on scheduling. While it has encouraged us to be something that is extremely rare in the D&D community, from what I've felt and heard from other people I know, of having a completely consistent game.
Yeah.
Where we're always like, when I tell people that we have been playing together for 8 years and that we've been doing a podcast for 5 of those years, they're like, wait, what? And but that also comes with the stress of making sure that we're always together and finding a way to get around the schedule and reworking things and jigging things around and having to move off of Fridays because Greg and I didn't have work schedules that worked with it anymore, and kids came along, and pre-recording maternity leave, and just the juggling of schedules is not my forte in the first place. So
It gives a certain priority to the game that it otherwise wouldn't have in your life. I think.
Right. I think the coolest thing that has changed for me, especially when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, is that I have started playing more. Like I'm in like 3 or 4 different games now in different systems and whatnot. But being in the podcast setting with this group is something special.
Cool.
There is the role play aspect is different, the play off of each other, because we know that we're kind of putting on a story for people, like feels really amazing. And whereas I have some games where I can just sit there and munch on my chips and zone out on my phone a little, maybe not be as like invested, which I feel bad about when I'm there, but like I never really feel that when we're together, and that's awesome.
That's good. That's good.
Also, to kind of piggyback off of that, is that when we're role-playing things, there's a lot of heavy weight to some of them, especially when we have stories that people are telling something about something of their character, and you're relaying that information. And some of those sessions I feel like are some of the best sessions we've had, where backstory is coming into the present and making itself felt and known in the session that we're in. And there have been a number of those different things, like in the past, Rael and Mordain and Mixie and Trixie's stories too,
Which I'm still trying to work in. It's a tricky one.
Trixie, you would say?
A little bit tricksy. It's a little tricksy to mixie it in.
John with the dad jokes.
But
I'm not the dad on this table.
But that's that's being with people you love and people you care about. I think that makes it even more self-evident that it shows within the constraints of the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
As the person who actually has to deal with the technical side of the podcast, how does DM Chris react to extra difficulties?
If I were to ask myself, what do I think is the most challenging aspect of doing a podcast over the past 5 years, there is a part of me that wants to kind of lean in the direction that you're describing about like the technical aspect. I mean, I had to learn how to be a podcaster. I had to learn how to record, and I had to get a mixer, and I had to learn, I was already doing voiceover, so I had an understanding of Audacity and of microphones and of like soundproofing and certain things. But when I think about the challenges that have come with the technical aspects of us becoming a podcast, while they are very challenging and occasionally stressful, I agree with Kate's statement that it's been more challenging to deal with having kids and making that juggle. We didn't have any kids for we started in January. Liliana was born in October. We had gone to Zoom in February or March of that year. So being on Zoom and having a baby, we had recorded in Vola's Week ahead of time, so we had those to cover during Liliana's first few months. But then when we came back in person, all of a sudden things got much more stressful for both Kate and I. And I will say that just trying to juggle the schedules with the kids in general has been very, very stressful. Like Sarah mentioned, there were work things, but there was also the fact that my mom and stepdad didn't want to babysit on Fridays anymore. That was part of an issue with that, so we moved to Sundays. And eventually they didn't want to come over here, so we have to drop Liliana off over at their house. So there's all kinds of things. And even just if you guys have all gone home and I'm sitting in the office trying to edit the podcast and there are kids yelling and screaming and crying and pooping and doing everything.
Doing kid things.
Then,
He has to mention pooping.
Basically, timing editing for if I can take one or both of them out, or naps, basically, right? That's kind of your
trying
peak
to find
hours.
the time to edit, and stuff like that has been very stressful. And even just collecting music. I'm on a couple of Patreons, so I get about 8 new tracks a month. And when I get one, if it's something I want to use, I'll do maybe a little bit of editing on it and then put it into my playlist and put it on the MP3 player that I use, which is basically an Android phone. So again, yes, John, the technical aspect has been a lot to deal with. But then the kids, on top of that, make the technical part even harder for all the reasons that I just mentioned. And the scheduling and everything, it's difficult. I mean, obviously, kids are awesome. It's been the dream of my life to be a dad.
Oh. We love you.
I guess that answers my follow-up question was going to be, is it worth it?
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
You made them melt, John.
And they are raising 2 amazing nerdy kids.
Yes.
Yeah. So the kids have made it the most challenging. Is the answer to my question. Okay.
Just wait until we get to have special episodes where the kids are hosting.
We're playing, right? That is fast approaching.
Yeah.
Liliana will probably be there in a few years.
I was going to say, it's not going to be long before Liliana could DM a game.
Well, she could
I think
even,
that would be interesting.
guest
That'd be fun.
play for sure. That would be amazing.
I could do something just the 4 of us. We could just do a family thing.
A family thing, yeah. Well, she would love to guest play with this group too, given a
Oh, yeah.
chance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you two are raising an extrovert, and I'm very sorry for you.
It's a good thing that they have a couple of more extroverted aunties and uncles, quote unquote, around.
We don't know about Sebastian yet. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, he's leaning more introvert for now, but we'll see.
So my next question, I think we kind of covered to some degree, but if people want to say more, I have, what do you enjoy most about being on the podcast? I feel like we've talked about that a little bit, but if you want to reiterate or add something, Greg, what do you think has been the most enjoyable thing for you about being part of the podcast? And this is not including before the podcast, but once we started podcasting, what do you enjoy most in general?
I think it's actually being around all of you guys. I've known some of you for a really long time.
Too long.
Not too long enough.
Not long enough.
10 or more years. So
20.
Yeah, so many that I can't even remember when I first met people. So if you've known people that long, when you can't even remember when you met or what the circumstances were, then they're like family to you instead of being friends. So they're like brothers and sisters. So I consider people here to be that, for me. So for me, it makes it very enjoyable. I look forward to having time with friends and being able to spend time doing different things. And this is one of the ones I enjoy a lot. So that's
awesome.
What I think about it.
Yeah, for me, it's continuing on what Sarah was saying about how rigid the schedule has to be.
Yeah.
that's actually been really good for me.
Structure what?
Both structure and an excuse to actually get out of the house regularly, because I am very much a homebody. And if I didn't
talking about that on the way over here.
and if I didn't have a reason to actually get out of the house, I probably never would. So this actually keeps me active, and I like that. And it's, like I said, it's a lot of fun.
There's
It's a good way to do it.
definitely some introverts in this group for sure.
Yep.
I include myself in there. Greg and Sarah are saying no.
Okay, I'm an extroverted introvert.
Okay.
I will carry that to my grave. I told John once that I was actually an introvert, and he said, "You're full of bullshit." Because most people see the masked side of me, which is this like boisterous, like exuberant, blah, blah, but like when I get home, y'all don't even know. Like I hit the couch and I'm like, for like 36 hours. Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about the podcast?
As conceited as this may sound,
This is the place to be.
I think the most enjoyable part about having this podcast is being able to say to people, I can't hang out on Sunday. I have to go podcast recording. And to be like, yeah, I'm on a D&D podcast, and have like all of my other nerdy internet friends be like, what? That's so cool. And I love you all if you're out there. You make me feel like way more cool of a person than I really am. When I get my little bragging rights of saying that I'm on the Knights of Roleplay.
I think we're all cool at this table.
Oh, definitely.
Kay, what do you like most?
Oh, gee, I think I have to piggyback a little bit on Greg and Sarah's answers. It's kind of a combination of the fact that, like, when you have a group of friends that's essentially extended family, and I think it is, like, ironically, Chris is probably the person at the table that I've known the least long out of and that's still like 15 years, right? 20 years, 20 plus years, gosh, pushing 30 just
plus
oh
years.
my God. So it's like, you know, when you've got like hundreds of years of combined friendship practically around the table, right? Like, there's just a special chemistry that brings to our role play and interactions, and I think DM Jeremy even called that out when you guys did the cross promotion. Love you, DM Jeremy.
Yes.
So like there's something unique that definitely carries through, and I think it's wonderful to be able to share that with our audience, even if it's really small right now. Maybe someday we'll make it big time, and people who love Critical Role will also figure out how unique and amazing we are, right? But I think that is just, I think that's really fun.
I can only
neat,
hope to be me today. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. So,
and me.
Sarah, you mentioned a little bit about this one already, but how do people react when you tell them that you're in an actual Play D&D podcast? It sounds like you already kind of covered
Did you
that
answer
for you,
the question?
Right?
You didn't answer your
I'm
question.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
skipping myself. Skipping
Don't be
myself.
skipping out on us now.
Unless you're actually going to skip, because that could be funny.
What do I enjoy most about doing the podcast?
Do you actually enjoy doing the podcast?
I do. I do.
I question that sometimes, because you always look a little stressed. And like you might choke one of us for being so chaotic.
Chris and I are OCD, so like the sound quality and everything that we take seriously, right?
Yeah, I mean, sort of a more generic answer is that I just love playing D&D. That's not. I mean, it is podcast specific, but it's not. I'm going to be playing D&D if I wasn't doing the podcast. I love playing D&D, and that's what we're doing as part of the podcast. But one of the things that I like about it a lot is I find myself constantly getting distracted by music, by music for the podcast. I mean, if I get one of those if I get a Patreon post that says, "Hey, here's a new track," and I go and I listen to it, and it's something that I can use, I get so excited. And then I spend all kinds of time like making sure that I have it edited the right way. If I do some editing, sometimes I cut off the beginning or the end, or I'll break it into two parts, and I get like super excited about doing the music. And I love my playlists, and it's something that I definitely have stressed myself out sometimes before when I didn't have enough time to do something, and I'm like, I just want to get this one music track ready to go. I just want to get this one thing ready.
John, what's our setting going to be? I have to get the music ready. John, tell us what our setting's going to be.
It's true. It's true. I check with John ahead of time for Golden Vault to be like where, like, what are the atmospheres? Like, are there buildings? Are there oceans? Like, what kind of areas are we going to be in so I can have the right music ready, the right background music, ambient music.
Give me an excuse.
Pretty much.
I remember how you wanted to keep everything more generic before. It's like, we're going to have city music and combat music and maybe one other, and that's it. And I actually really love the fact that you've leaned into like the more tailored, because there is so much cool
There's so
music
much cool
out there.
music out
There's
there.
wonderful networking opportunities. We're supporting these other artists indirectly as well, right? And I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think I have. Hold on one second while I unlock my MP3
We're
player.
opening the vault.
Oh,
Let's see. Okay, it doesn't actually tell me, but I think I have something like over 70 different playlists on this Android device that I'm using. It's called the GME.
that's not 70 tracks. That's
sponsor us.
70 playlists of tracks.
That's 70 folders. Each folder is a playlist.
Track count is hundreds or thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got about 6,500 music tracks.
Holy cow.
Wow.
And that's all royalty-free
Correct.
music.
It's all royalty free. It's all from Kevin MacLeod, Michael Guppy Studios, Plate Mail Games, and Tabletop Audio. And we had all those except Michael Gelfi for the first like year and a half or two, and then Michael Gelfi came in. But yeah, so basically, you know, I love the D&D part of doing the podcast, but I also geek out constantly over the music. That's just one of the things that I love about the podcast is the music.
I can connect with you on that because when I've hosted as a DM for other groups online and I use things like Roll20, they also have access to things like Kevin MacLeod's royalty-free music right there, and I will get lost in setting up the audio for my game sessions for hours and then forget to finish writing my story.
Whoopsies.
Like, hold on, guys, we're
just
gonna
wing it.
start like 15 minutes late because I'm not ready. I was playing with the music. Like,
So they have that stuff actually in Roll20.
so you can have atmosphere music while you're playing.
I didn't know. I mean, I should have assumed that, but I didn't know that they actually had music you could play during. If you're using a virtual tabletop, a VTT, I didn't know that had music integrated into those systems.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. Jumping back to the question about how do people react, Sarah, you said people are very excited. They're like, wow, cool, when you tell them that you're on a podcast, right?
Yeah, so I tend to, I do a lot of online gaming.
My fault.
I blame John.
I accept the blame.
And because of the type of online gaming I do, which is an MMORPG, which is a massive online role-playing game, I tend to run into a lot of D&D players because it is also a role-playing game.
Right.
So when people find out via either like seeing my social media or seeing my stream or whatever that I play D&D in the first place, everybody wants to talk about it. And then they find out that I'm on a podcast and they're like, what? Send me the link. I want to listen. And sometimes I'll come in on a Sunday and Chris will be like, oh, we had some new downloads. I'll be like, yeah. I met someone new this week.
Later, Sarah will tell you about the D&D games that she runs inside the MMOs.
I do sometimes, actually. I have gotten the opportunity through meeting these friend groups online to start D&D groups of my own. Some of them have crashed and failed. So again, I call
Nature of the
myself
beast.
extremely blessed to have this group.
Do you want to... That's very sweet, thank you. Do you want to share your Twitch information?
Oh, yeah, you can follow me on Twitch TV. Just look up Wolfhound_Mama. Lately, we've been streaming a lot of Repo, but I also stream Final Fantasy 14 online, as well as some other fun little games where we get together with friends and push each other off mountains. It's super fun.
Cool. John, how do people react when you tell them that you're in an actual play D&D podcast?
we're supposed to be telling people that we're in a podcast?
I had a feeling that was the answer I was going to get.
I'm sorry, but all my friends, my friend groups already know that I'm in a podcast, so I don't have anybody to tell.
We're all right here.
I have no social life, except for you guys.
You don't cry about not having a social life. Come on.
Yeah, I wouldn't cry about it at all. No, I don't have a social life, but I'm not going to cry about it.
Has your sister Tara, who we love, ever been like, oh, I told somebody that you were on a podcast, John, and they're really excited? Has she ever talked about sharing the information with people that you're on the podcast?
Not that she has shared with me. You'll have to ask her when she comes up for
All
visit.
right. Yeah, she's going to be in our next adventure.
Woo.
Kate, do you tell people about being on the podcast? If so, how do they react?
I do. I mean, the reactions are always favorable. I think we have to kind of credit the kind of renaissance that's happening with D&D in general right now, where like that societal perception and open-mindedness, and I guess just awareness of it too, right? That has definitely increased in the last 20, 30 years. So it makes it so it's much more recognizable. There's no stigma like there was in the 80s and the 90s, a little bit with it.
Satanic Panic.
So, and I mean, in general, like geek culture kind of going more mainstream. Well, I feel there's both good and bad things about that, right? In general, it makes it so that there's that positive perception and people think it's really neat. And then you get other random things like the fact that we ended up in New Hampshire Magazine recently, where it's like, one of my daughter's pediatricians at the practice said we were messaging about something else, and she's like, oh yeah, I was reading New Hampshire Magazine and I saw the article with you guys and I saw the picture of you and Liliana, and that's so cool. It's like, yes. So yeah, I think it's fun, and yeah, it's definitely well received.
Okay, Greg?
I would say that when I tell people, they're like, oh, really? So it's like a surprise, really.
Okay.
Most people probably don't expect people to have a D&D specific podcast, especially someone like myself. Not saying I'm nerdy or anything like that.
You are totally nerdy.
Do most of the people that you tell, are they people that would know what D&D is all
some
about?
of them do,
Some
yes.
of them, yeah.
I would say, too, that a lot of the, I think, love for D&D, a lot of that has come from recent events like the pandemic, which afforded everyone who was alone together to be able to do those things to kind of take their minds off of
It's a game online, yep.
you know, game online with their friends and bring back something that has largely maybe been a little bit slow in terms of being available to everyone.
Sure.
You know, especially since now it's available online. Most of the tools you can get there for sessions if you choose to do so. I try to tell a lot of the friends that I have when I see them about the podcast, and so some of them are very impressed by that, and usually they say, you know, you guys sound really natural together. It's like listening to a story.
We've known each other for 2 decades.
Yes, so I think everything that I've heard or told has been positive.
Okay. Yeah. DM Jeremy, again, one of our friends from another podcast called Old Men Rolling Dice, talked about the fact that he felt like he could tell that we were really good friends. So I thought that was really cool. I'm always telling people about the podcast, like everywhere I go.
We do air the merch too.
We do have merch.
Yes.
Yep. If you look up Nights of Roleplay and Spreadshop online, you should be able to find our merch shop there. And I was just recently at Diversity Games in Hooksett, New Hampshire, where I was telling a whole bunch of people about the podcast. And because people that were there playing D&D on the night that I was there, they were all reacting with excitement, and they thought it was really cool. And they seemed to appreciate the fact that it was something that was happening in their home state, and that seemed to kind of make them excited. I've told like certain members of my family at holiday gatherings, and they're like, oh, that's great. And I think one of my family members actually said something along the lines of, are you still playing that little game?
Oh my God, that's what my mother says all the time.
and I was like, wow, thanks. I just kind of moved on from there.
Are you going to be able to join
the
us
unwashed
on
masters.
Sunday? Or are you doing that like little game thing that you do with your friends?
Yeah.
I think it's the generational divide, right? Like, whereas the older generations, a lot of people moved and just went out on their own and didn't keep friend circles to be the way that we are so fortunate to have, right? And then just different social focuses, right? It used to be you grow up and you give up your games and put all that stuff away because that's for kids, right? And now instead you're gonna golf or join your social clubs, your societies.
Yeah.
Like my parents were in a construction society, so it's like I think it's just bridging the gap of understanding. It is so different to those older generations. I get why it's like, oh, you're playing a game, you're grown up, right? But it's not. They don't understand that it's like, okay, well, you like to sit down and watch shows on network TV. Well, this is us building our own story. How is that really any? And in a way, it's more
writing a
special because there's a social play to building a story rather than just watching one that's been created for you, right? So,
And it's funny because like my parents understand like podcasts. They listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
They listen to audiobooks and all that kind of stuff. But like my mother doesn't put together, and I feel comfortable saying this because I don't talk about the fact that it's a podcast to her a lot.
Okay.
Because I know for a fact that my parents did not raise me to talk the way that I do on the podcast. And the sheer NSFW aspect of our antics
That's not safe for work.
would definitely put my mother into a coma. So I don't really stress it to them as much, but because of that, I don't think it's ever really clicked with her that like, yeah, I'm going to play my game on Sunday, but like I'm recording a podcast that's available worldwide.
It is.
For people to listen to. Like
you're
that's
making
a
me
big
nervous now.
deal to me, Ma.
The last time I checked our download stats, like United States was like the number one download place, and it used to be, I think, that either like Canada, I think might have been like the second or third, and like the UK was like second or third or something like that. And last time I checked it was like Sweden was like number 2.
Ooh.
It's like Sweden and Finland were like 2 or 3 underneath the US. So, but yeah, we are worldwide, and it's cool that we get downloads like all over the place, Spain, Germany, wherever. It's cool.
Nice.
It's worldwide.
We appreciate you, fans
The
from the Swedish
international
Institute.
phenomenon.
Yes,
Nights
please.
of Roleplay.
I am
on
an
our socials
international
if you're an
phenomenon.
international
That's what we should tell our family members who are condescending. Be like, people listen to me all across the world.
My voice is being heard across the globe,
So my next question, again, I think we've covered some of this, is basically, has being in a podcast changed your life in any way?
We'll start with you this time.
Start with me.
I'm gonna bring it right back to him. Ding.
Well, I mean, like stuff with kids has been stressful, but doing the podcast, how has it changed my life? I mean, it's definitely put more stuff on my plate, like I already discussed, things that I'm managing with our busy life with kids and everything. And I do martial arts, I do on camera and voice acting. So it's added another layer, but it's a layer that I like, and it's something where, D&D is always D&D, and I'm always going to love it, I'm always going to play it. But now it's like, I get so excited to tell people that we're playing D&D on a podcast. And so like it's brought this excitement and enthusiasm into my life about D&D that I didn't have before. So now I talk to people much more about the fact that I play D&D because I'm on a podcast. Prior to the podcast, I didn't talk to people that much about the fact that I played. Now that I have a podcast, now that we have a podcast, I tell people all the time that I play D&D. So I think that is a huge change for me, is that I share my hobby with a lot more people now because of the podcast.
Do you feel like having the podcast like affected your feelings and like your, I don't want to call it ambition, but like your motivation to like go out and get acting jobs and stuff? Because I feel like we saw a pretty big influx of that from you, like when we first started recording? Like, I know you were already doing your voiceover work, but
I'm not going to say there isn't a connection there, because when we first started the podcast, there was I was booking a lot of on-camera work in those first couple of years of the podcast, and I can tell you for certain that I think that doing the podcast has helped me in my voiceover, because like I was trying to do audiobook stuff for a while, and doing different character voices was something that always stressed me out. And I'm like, God, how do I do this voice? How do I do that voice?
Me too.
And now I'm literally playing a character who has at least 5 personas, including their own. So I'm playing 6 characters right now, all at the same time. And they all speak differently and they all act differently. And so being on the podcast has affected that in a lot of ways. So
we're 5. I'm sorry. John's stomach just gurgled. And we all look.
Was it in stereo?
And we all look. I don't know. It came from this direction of the table. And I'm 5.
That was my stomach just went.
Just let it be organic.
no, I'm writing a timestamp because I want to know if I can hear it. I'm not going to take it out. I just want to know if I hear it.
And there you go. There was his
Enhance
stomach.
the sound of the gurgle.
Cater Sarah Balchuk.
So there may be a connection there. Definitely with voiceover. I don't know about on camera. It's possible, but I know it definitely has a connection to voiceover. So thank you for asking me. How do you think that your life has changed? It sounds like you're doing gaming online, Twitch stuff. That's partly because of the podcast.
It definitely helped me really pull the trigger on getting myself to a point where I could actually start streaming and feel more comfortable. I'm not really using my camera as much right now. I'm working on getting like a VTube model.
Cool.
But getting more comfortable with just putting myself out there. And I had really reached a point prior to the podcast starting in my life where like the performance aspect that I had for much of my life. I mean, my family will tell you that I've been a performance artist since I was like 3, standing on the steps of the church, singing.
Yes, Sarah can play most of the instruments in the orchestra and sings beautifully.
But I really lost connection with that part of me for a hot minute of my life. I went through a lot, and getting to be on the podcast and be with you guys, it really like reignited something with like the acting side of me, and like I really love DMing because I get to, like you said, use fun voices. I'm really terrible at keeping the accents, but like I'm getting better at them though.
It's still fun when you break them out.
And like, I don't know, like it's been a lot of fun for me to really like work the mic again and have my personality
Work
out
that
there.
mic, baby.
And even if my friends want to start a snort counter for my stream.
Everybody loves the Sarah snorts.
I don't know. I don't get it.
It's
but
joy. Sheer joy.
Yes, it's just watching. It's just seeing this. Yeah, you just exude joy when you do that, because we can tell that it's just when you hit that point. That's when we know that everybody at the table is just really having fun.
am I the gauge?
Pretty much.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm the gauge?
To some degree.
You're the weather vane of the table.
Gauge / accelerant, maybe? Like,
Oh, I like being an accelerant. Evil.
All right.
Okay, how has it changed your life?
I mean, I think some people started to segue into this already. I do feel like going to the podcast, like you and Sarah have spoken to it, but like the whole table, I feel like it's done things for our role play and the leaps that we're willing to take and stuff. Like I feel like before we started podcasting that a lot of us kind of just played the same archetype for a character in different flavors or classes like over and over and over again. So like I know for me it's like that's what it's I was always
played like 8 barbarians.
self-conscious about my role play and not really feeling like I could attempt accents. So it's like these are all things that I started to lean into because we had the podcast as a vehicle and kind of we're shifting our game style so that there was more opportunity for role play as well.
Yeah.
Like, adding in things like Stars and Wishes and the role play elements, character driven, that you started doing in the last campaign. So it's like we keep building and finding new ways to kind of encourage the group to take those leaps and
the stories during rests.
broaden our, because I did a little bit of acting when I was little, but again, it's like I always keep getting in my own way, and I feel like this is a really good format to kind of.
So you feel like it was a confidence booster
take
for you?
that leap, right, and start doing things. Playing completely different archetypes than what I used to do.
I was
rather
so
than the straight
excited when you
laced,
busted out the accent for Sildra.
I have noticed that both
In the
you
Campbell
and
Keep.
Greg have been much more willing to step out of your comfort zones from when we first started.
I think that's
And that's beautiful to see.
awesome. And I think one other angle of it is like doing the podcast from a technical standpoint, being the spouse and the helper role, right? This is a point where I really get to lean into my technical skill, my, sound propagation, that understanding of electronics that, I work with professionally, but in my job, like, I can only tell you so much about what I do at BA, and you're like, yeah, that's great, right? Because it doesn't really resonate, whereas this is something that we work on together, and now I can use the skill set to help with, like, can we get this additional thing out of this existing mixer? And maybe this is why we're having problems with this. And my skills as a troubleshooter and optimizer, whereas that doesn't always resonate well and sometimes annoys you in other aspects. This is a place where it's actually something that I can lean towards the good of the group. And I think that's kind of fun in its own way, too, because I like solving problems and digging in.
Yeah, you've definitely helped me overcome
certain
certain technical challenges.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. John, how has it changed your life?
I'd say for me, I know I said earlier that for the most part, I just kind of ignore the mic when I do. I don't completely ignore the mic.
Yeah.
Because you kind of can't. It's right there.
Chris would tell you.
Yeah.
If you were.
If I was,
Well,
So to that end-
we basically have mics underneath our chin in front of us a little bit, rather than having boom mics from the ceiling, just so the listeners know how we're talking basically over the top of these mics that are under our chins.
Yeah. So even though the being always aware of the podcast, even if I'm not playing up to the podcast, is still something that is always in the back of my mind.
The mic, you mean?
No, just the fact that I'm on a podcast
gotcha.
is just always there in the back of my mind.
Gotcha.
And I have always had, and don't read this. Don't read into this too much. Performance anxiety.
You? No.
And just especially when I've been sitting in the DM chair.
Sure.
I always go have
It's
a lot.
intimidating.
It is to be in the DM chair on
When
a
you
podcast.
sit at the head of that table and like 4 to 5 people are staring up at you, waiting for you to tell them what's going to happen,
Especially if you're an overthinker.
it's intimidating.
Right? The overthinking brain type, which at least
Right.
3 of us have.
So my anxiety levels even now will ramp up just for days before we actually play.
Okay.
But usually once I'm actually there behind the mic and sitting in the DM chair,
Yeah.
I've learned to be able to deal with that, to cope with it. And it has really helped me a lot to overcome a lot of this performance shyness, I guess.
Okay.
I guess that'd probably be the way that the podcast has really kind of improved my life in a way.
Okay, that's good. I always knew you were a little bit nervous. I could just tell from you sitting here.
Still am.
But I didn't realize that it was causing you that kind of anxiety, like days in advance of the.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a build up.
I got you.
But like I said, it's something that I need to cope with, and this is something that I can cope with.
It's still
It has helped me
it's a
to-
positive thing, right? for
It
you?
is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Greg, how do you think the podcast has changed your life?
Well, I think it's allowed me to swing for more interesting roles in terms of the characters I
Okay,
play.
gotcha.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the clarification.
I was shifty-eyed over
First we had
here.
performance anxiety, and then we had swinging.
Got it.
Maybe the podcast is maybe a swinger.
Meaning, I played 2 female characters.
Sarah's broken. Oh, now we're having fun. There we go. Now we're having fun.
Oh my god, we should start rating our episodes like this is a 5 snort episode.
I love it.
But like I said, like meaning taking chances and
Yeah.
doing different things. Like before, I didn't play female characters. Now this is the second one I've played.
Yeah, that's true.
The first one being Matisse, and let me tell you, that was interesting trying to figure out how to do a voice for that character.
Sure.
Because obviously I don't have that kind of voice. You know, you have to figure it out in terms of how you want the character to sound. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that's one of the things I feel that doing a podcast has really opened up, and likewise taking kind of a chance with not so righteous character, I would say. Someone that's very much gray area and kind of does their own thing.
Sure.
And I say that came out of the dungeon crawl tour, where I got kind of possessed by a playful god, and then from that point I just kind of did whatever I felt like doing.
It was really fun when the paladin and the barbarian were like going, we're like having a measuring contest.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this. You're like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I forgetting? I'm missing the reference.
When Dirkris and
I can't remember his name.
Which
Too many characters.
his paladin from
Malik.
Malik, yes,
Yeah.
and Malik, they were each possessed by a god.
Yes.
Like Dirkris
that's
was
right.
like
That's right.
being deceitful and
Yes.
like
Yes.
needed to be in charge and this and that and the other thing.
the leader.
And
Gotcha.
My character was like, just do stuff. Like,
Yes.
it was like, I want to just get it done.
Yes. So you
And I
just-
want to be the first to do it.
Yes.
So we had like a few episodes where we were really butting heads with our role play.
Yes. This is now sounding familiar.
You're like, oh, what? Well, I'm just gonna do this.
I'm just going to do this.
Okay, he
and I'm
just
like,
does it.
okay then. Well, I'm going to steal all the crap off of this skeleton and not tell anyone. What do you mean we're missing 2 eyeballs?
Or attempt to, because he's a
Yeah.
barbarian. Did you say? I seem to recall you tried to steal things a couple times.
I think I tried and failed a couple of times, but I was hiding like 2 glass eyeballs on my person for like 4 or 5 episodes.
But it's just
Differently
been
things.
fun kind of opening up that performance
Yeah.
aspect of myself. Just, kind of running free, I guess, if you will.
Awesome.
Born free.
Mischief maker. Quiet mischief maker.
Okay, so our next question is, what is your mental process for creating a Dungeons and Dragons character? John, what is your mental process for creating a Dungeons and Dragons character?
Bold of you to assume I have a mental process.
What will annoy Chris the most?
A shorty.
Let's see. Well, first, I'd say in deciding race class combo, I usually try to find a combo that I haven't done before. I like variety.
Sure, that makes sense.
And usually I just kind of let it snowball from there. For the most part, roll stats and stuff like that. I don't really vary too much on that. I just kind of go with point buy and let it do its thing.
Gotcha.
Specific, when it comes down to specific flavor, though, for the most part, it's hard for me to answer this question because I don't have like a set procedure for this.
I understand.
It's a lot of, just kind of let my imagination go. If I have a setting in mind or that is presented to me, then maybe I'll usually just kind of work for something in that setting. A lot of times I try to build characters that have a lot of versatility to
Sure.
situation.
Sure.
They're not all, they usually end up not being the best of fighters as a result, but I've always liked characters that can just, fill in the gaps
Sure.
in these little things.
Sure.
The skill monkeys, as
Yeah.
it were. And so when I'm like deciding on the subclass or something like that, that's generally what I look for. I look for something that lets me just kind of shift roles as when necessary.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of designing the background, which is just kind of, how much do I think I can make Chris read and get away with it?
I have actually told John that he has a certain number of pages that he can't go over.
That's a pretty high contrast
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, but my backgrounds, I always kind of end up ending towards the normal person in abnormal circumstance type backgrounds. So that tends to be what I fall towards,
Okay.
whether I intend to or not.
Okay.
And hard to articulate a lot of it because it's more feel than actual plan.
Okay. It's all good.
Don't you have like a spreadsheet that like calculates out each level and what you're taking and everything?
Used to.
Used? You covered
used
the
to.
spreadsheet?
Yeah, I don't do the spreadsheet
You're a
anymore.
monster.
Because I mostly found that with 5th edition, it really doesn't make much difference.
Oh.
If I'm planning on multi-classing a lot, then I might do have a general plan in mind.
That makes sense, yeah.
But a lot of times, it doesn't even really. Things don't tend to even fall the way I planned. It just kind of.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sarah, what is your mental process for creating a character?
Setting aside the panic.
Show up at the session.
Crickets. Show up at session 0 with absolutely nothing on paper except and just maybe a spark of an idea in my mind.
Totally valid.
I joke, but that does actually happen to me a lot. I feel like I probably do my best character creation under pressure, which completely tracks with my ADHD over the last 40 some odd years.
Without telling me your age.
My first character I ever played with this group, I only had 3 days to prepare.
That's right.
But I wrote an entire backstory and it was a good page long and I had all these ideas for her, and ever since then I've just I threw something together. But I do generally have some sort of inspirational idea behind them, whether they turn out to be something that I then use as an inspiration for how I'm gonna role play them, or vice versa. Dirkers kind of came out of a one-shot I played recently called 3 Kobolds in a Trench Coat.
Okay.
And I was like, I really want to play a kobold character right now. So I knew I wanted to play a kobold. I knew I wanted it to be a barbarian. And I kind of rolled from there. And
Cool.
Again, that was probably one of my favorite, most fun characters I've ever played. If he was still alive.
During session 0.
And I literally was making him during session 0 while we were talking to the guy that sent us into the dungeon crawl. For reals. I was still putting him together as John was already role-playing with us.
If you listen to that episode, you can actually hear Sarah as she works through her character
Typing
details.
and working
right
through the
there.
details. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right there while
does
we're trying to play.
How does it? Whoa. And I think I missed half of session 0 because of it, which was a bad thing. I don't recommend doing this to anybody out there. However, sometimes you have to let inspiration spark when it sparks. And Greg was a huge inspiration for me on Mixie and Trixie because Greg had an idea.
Cool.
And Greg was like, I think we could make this into an even better idea. And I was like, give me what you've got. And I rolled with it.
Awesome.
And again, I didn't have the character sheet ready on session 1. However, I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And she's developing as we go. So, total opposite of John. Never prepared.
And Greg, what about you? What's your process for creating a character that you
I'd say my
shared with
process
Sarah?
is terrible, but
Apparently not.
my process starts with writing a story about the character itself. That's
Okay.
where I start.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I have a thought process about what I want the character to be about. And as you probably know from my stories, which most of the time they're very long, we're trying to introduce characters. That's the point I start at. And then I work backwards from that and try to figure out, what type of character is going to be. Is it one of my favorites like Barbarian or,
Or rogue.
I've only played 3 of those, but this is the 4th one now. But so,
very
Or so really 4.
but
Greg sounds like 6 characters.
but I try to align the character so it works with the story. Like with this one, when I was talking to Sarah, I was like, that would be kind of fun if they were twins and they were the same, and then it's like
But kind of different.
But kind of different.
And then I kind of threw out the idea of them being like sort of the Shardling
Yeah.
race.
The Shardling race.
And we
Yeah.
kind of rolled from there.
Yeah.
Like we literally had like a car ride of
of talking.
brainstorm bouncing.
Okay.
And so that's where my characters start with the story first.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm bad with figuring out the details of the character because I don't think that far ahead.
Sure.
I'm like a last minute Fred in that regard. I have like the character story and all that back worked out, but I don't necessarily have the character all worked out.
So you and I are kind of the opposite on this. You start with a story and then decide what kind of character would fit the story. I decide what kind of character I want to play and then create a story on how the character might have ended up that way.
I put their clothes on and dance around the room for 3 weeks before I decide who they are.
So like I'm in the middle of you two, like character-wise. But other than that, like I've gotten much better with these past couple of characters in deciding what they're going to do. But I do like to be very damagey. That is.
Yeah, we
Greg
have
does
found
really
that.
like to hit hard.
He likes the big
combat
numbers.
Yeah.
tricks, yeah. And his MFS.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Way back in the day.
Gotcha.
I'm learning to enjoy not being more of a support role.
Cool. Okay. My process has changed over the last 39 years. It started off like not really having much of a process and just being inspired. Like when I was a teenager, I played a whole bunch of fighters that fought with 2 swords because I had seen Willow and Matt Mardigan fought with 2 swords.
Willow!
So I had multiple characters like right in a row. No, I'm a fighter with 2 swords, and I did it again. They're like, really, really. I think one of my first characters was a cavalier, and I just always liked King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, so I took inspiration from that. And over time, things have evolved, and as I've gotten more involved in acting, I've started to think more about the character's personality. And for our most recent campaign that John is running, Keys from the Golden Vault, it was really all about John and his Session 0, and basically saying, this is a campaign that doesn't have a lot of fighting, and John was kind of concerned I wouldn't like it because I like a lot of fighting. My campaigns have a lot of fighting, but the fact that John gave me the info up front allowed me to think about building a character that I had never built before, which was to not optimize for fighting and to do everything completely optimized for social encounters, which I've never ever done before.
And now Chris is discovering things about himself.
I mean, I'm really liking it a lot. I'm really enjoying it, and now I try to, kind of like Greg, I don't necessarily write out a whole story right away, but I do try to think about the character first. With John's campaign, it was what kind of character would I build to fit into the framework that you put there, and then I came up with a story to explain it, and then I started going from there. So I feel like for the most part, I want to know what's going on in the campaign before I make a character. And then I try to come up with a really cool character with a really cool story. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in my current process. And I do like utility characters like you, John. I like to have characters that aren't just just the fireball wizard or just the big hack and slash fighter. I like to have somebody who can do a lot of things.
Just want to be the big damn hero. We need to get past this. I have a tool for that.
But every once in a while, I do though, like in Sarah's game. And
I don't
Sarah's,
know how you ever got to be an artificer. I mean, I'm sorry.
in Sarah's Candlekeep campaign, which we'll probably revisit again, I like being the very...
Rage!
Yes, I like being the person that just runs in and just hits things. I like that very much. Kate, what is your process for making a character?
So a little bit of, it depends, but and I'll expand on that with like, there's always a backbone of like, I'm a very story-centric player, and I like the fact that like, I remember when we first started out and like, we were doing campaigns that were much more linear, and I was like, well, if I get to roll in backstory, that's great, but otherwise I might not get to touch on everybody's backstories, and I feel like we've gone through this transition, especially as we got into the podcast, where it's like we lean into backstories a lot more, and I think maybe again because we're such close friends as a group, right, that builds on that even more. But it's like I have I'll call it a toolbox of characters I had to upgrade my D&D Beyond for like all the characters that I've created. So it depends heavily, because if we're doing something that is less story centric or more like a one shot, if my mental bandwidth is limited, I may lean on characters that I already created that I liked. Like I have Barbarian the Barbarian, and obviously Syndra, who is primarily a Candlekeep player, but she has been in other things as well, graded up or down. And you know, for most of those characters, there is still some kind of a backstory. And I do tend to try to lean into both like what's appropriate to the setting. So like pre-campaign, when we did Curse of Strahd, like I gave Reyna a whole backstory and theme based on the mists, not even knowing that John was going to pick it up, because there were actually things in the written material that he could play on for that, right? But then, like, what does the party need for party balance? Like, is there something I can pick that will help to fill that in? Sometimes there are concepts where it's like I'll seize on something like with Arvine and Spacefarers. Like, I knew I wanted her to be I wanted to play with the dynamic of samurai plus swashbuckler rogue on purpose. Because it's like, I do like, much like Greg, every now and then I like to have a character who has, you know, most of my characters will have some trick, usually combat centric, not always, where it's like they could do something really cool and optimized and busted or min-maxy, however you want to look at it, just because I'm a geek and I like figuring out how I combine things. I think I've multi-classed more than anybody else at the table, right?
I rail on her maybe a little too much about being a min-maxer.
But at the same time, it's like I like to fill in the party. I tend to try to build flavors into my characters where I can backfill like a little bit of healing if I think the party might need a little bit more of that. And I mean, you know, Tomb of Annihilation, if you go to things that are less story-centric, like I created a fleet of like 10 characters expecting it was going to be a meat grinder. I didn't need them all, but like I while they didn't have super deep backstories per character, they actually all had an overarching thread where they were Shadar-kai, who had been sent by the Raven Queen to try to get to this tomb, figure out what's going wrong and fix it, right? So that was the reason that they were all Shadar-kai, and just different cool variations and things to play around with that.
That sounds like way too much work
species.
for me.
So, but
This puts a huge target on the fact that I am not as organized as her. Because, like, y'all went into Tomb of Annihilation with, like, 5 characters in your pockets. I went in with nothing.
Chris and I were geeking out. Like, he told me he had made, like, 6 or something. And then I eventually had as many as him. So we were both
I think Brian had, like, 8.
Getting excited.
I had 2.
Yeah.
I had the one I created on session 0, and he made it all the way to the end.
That's up to us. Our 2 characters were the longest running characters before our untimely demise.
Right. But then it's like, I do get a character. Once I know what I'm doing that fits the party balance or the world or whatever cool thing I want to have, right, then I try to find backstory that fits with that. And oftentimes I suppose I have to credit Greg the most, because it's like I've had 2 campaigns now, maybe 3, where Greg and I have had backstories that were tied, and that's a fun opportunity, especially if it comes up in the story of the campaign, right? And Chris and I, pre-podcast, we had characters who were related for Curse of Strahd, which I thought was really, really cool and fun to do. So I mean, the story above all is the thing that makes it compelling for me.
Yeah.
And I think, funny sidebar there, like Fuzzy is actually the first character where it's like he's got a very basic background, but he does not have the kind of story that I usually make for my characters. And I think it's going to be interesting in this case to do. I chose him for party balance and to play a guy and a bugbear and a bunch of things that I hadn't done in combination with a barbarian before. So we would have a heavy, but I feel like now that John's given the opportunity to tell stories, I'm going to have to go back and figure out like more of the detail of what it was that brought him
How
to
did
where
this bugbear
he
get to
is.
be
Yeah.
with this band of weirdos?
Usually for me, the story comes like, along with the design at the outset. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I would probably say too that when you gave us the archetypes, that we had to try to figure out how to fit those archetypes.
For Keisha and Golden Ball.
Yeah, like with each of our roles, like you need to make a character that has this.
I think we
function.
did that stipulation more than
John
he
laid
did.
it out, right? As far as like,
I didn't really try. Maybe I miscommunicated this, but I wasn't trying to say you have to be one of these.
how I did.
I said,
I took it as a suggestion.
yeah, here, like,
Greg did not.
this is a heist campaign. These are the kinds of roles that you fill in a heist-centric group.
Right.
Just kind of keep this in mind. But if you have another role in mind, that's fine. But it was just kind of meant to be a guy.
Gotcha.
So if I miscommunicated that,
Well, I didn't take it negatively. I just really just ran with that. Like
Yeah.
I made this character, and she does her job.
it's working.
She's the roguiest rogue that ever rogued.
Okay, so let's see. What do you enjoy most about Dungeons and Dragons? We probably hit on some things about this already. Sarah, what do you enjoy most? Just about D&D.
Just about D&D?
Just about D&D. Not specifically about the podcast.
This is probably the exact same answer I gave in the first roundtable. It channels me into my creative aspect and gives me an outlet
Yeah.
for performance.
Awesome.
And and I get to play with shiny math rocks. Clickety clackety.
It was. I invited Sarah into the group for Curse of Strahd, and I knew that you were going to be like a dice goblin, like Kate.
I like shiny things.
Kate contributed
And math.
a lot of
And
the
Kate
initial
contributed a lot to my collection, and boy, is my collection big. It's not even all in my backpack anymore. Like, I have to keep some of it at home. It's heavy.
bags hanging up here.
I send people pictures of the pile that I just have when we're playing, and they're like, wow, you have a lot of dice. I'm like, that's not even like a 16th of them, babe.
In a big clear vase, right?
Yeah.
Just like keep it in there when you're.
Kate, what do you like most about D&D?
I mean, it's a little overlapped with some of what we've discussed tonight
Sure.
already, but I definitely think the open-ended creativity, like the being able to play different characters and explore themes for acting and role play, and then most of all build a story with a group and kind of have that mix of like, group skills and personalities and characters as they're designed, building that story, and then sometimes the places where it's like the dice can really steer it in certain ways too, and sometimes it's just really freaky how kind of prescient almost the dice are, and like deciding that the story needs to go a certain way, and it ends up being
Sometimes
really
the dice
cool.
have a story to tell.
So yeah, as much as we get frustrated on nights when there's low rolls, I think it's always interesting to see where things go or where the dice land exactly where they need to be for a given situation. So
Okay,
yeah.
John, what do you like most about D&D?
I don't. I hate D&D. I'm just here because Kate usually feeds me.
That makes
I mean,
sense.
that tracks.
Nah, let's see. Probably the problem solving
Okay,
aspect of it.
that's cool.
I've always, I do like it, when I'm presented with a situation that needs, for lack of a better phrasing, creative problem solving.
Sure.
And I like it when, you actually present that to me and say, here, figure it out.
There was something, I'm trying to remember, I think it was pre-podcast, where you were like talking to maybe a face in a wall or something, and there was like 3 riddles or something like that. I put something in there where there was 3 riddles, and I knew that you were gonna latch onto that and be all about it, and you were just like so excited to get these riddles.
Let's just do this.
Those points of light. You created like a puzzle type of
Little puzzle room,
dungeon
yeah.
or something specifically for Ratchet to dig into more of his
Yeah.
strengths. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will try to keep that in mind for the future.
That was fun. I think because
I like the puzzles too.
yeah,
Cool.
and being able to come up with creative solutions to to get past them, and then get shot down by the DM because it didn't actually work.
Because sometimes the dice have a story to tell.
Could that include, from your own perspective, like, would you count like avoiding a combat encounter or solving a puzzle, or are you thinking more along the lines of like riddles or traps?
I'm not picky in that regard.
Okay.
If the situation calls for a avoid combat type of puzzle, then I'll latch onto that and see if I can talk my way out of it.
Okay. Just putting ideas in my head.
If the situation is figure out how to open this door, well, all right, I'll start pushing bricks and see what I can find.
Okay.
No, I can latch onto that. I really like those situations where we're kind of faced with the idea of, do we really just want to run in here and attack this, or can we weasel our way out of this?
Yeah, that is the kind of thing.
I very much like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because it's not so much to try to derail whatever it is you have planned.
Sure.
So much as it is I'd like to see if I can kind of take the story in a slightly different direction here.
Yeah.
And see if, we can just outsmart the enemy rather than outgun them.
Push the
Sure.
DM outside their comfort zone.
Sometimes it's just as satisfying to avoid an encounter and find a peaceful solution as it is to like slay the beast. Although things like the Tarrasque I was very happy to see die.
And then we had the rock and Curse of Strahd that I worked so hard to paint and make all pretty, and then
Got rid of it in one turn.
Well, I mean, in that regard, John, like I've the thing I like most about it is the collaborative storytelling. Because obviously the Dungeon Master kind of has like a general idea of what's going to happen, but what the players do should ideally be able to inform that story and shape that story and mold that story. And I've tried to work away from being more rigid when I'm doing my adventure writing, and try to basically look at stuff like once I have an adventure written, I try to look at it and say, okay, assume that they're going to break all your toys, and read through this adventure and assume they're going to break everything. And then, like, if I look through the adventure and I'm like, yeah, that's great because that would be like fun and interesting, then I know that I've written it well. If I've written in such a way where I'm like, if they break any of these things, I'm going to be really upset. I'm like, I have to change this. So I'm trying to work out of that idea of being rigid and being too linear. I mean, I will basically put like a obstacle in front of you and a path that you can take. And sometimes you guys go right down the path and sometimes you don't. But I definitely, because I like the collaborative storytelling part of it so much, I'm trying to be more and more flexible in that regard.
do you feel like
so
it
you know.
pushes on your improv skill set where you already have some background with that, with acting and haunt acting and stuff like that?
Yeah. I've been, as much as I used to say that I hated improv, like I was always thinking of it in a very narrow kind of a way. And I didn't realize until I was working at Spooky World for like 10 years as a actor doing basically improv all night long, that I was actually doing improv for a decade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't hate improv. There's certain elements of improv that I don't relate to and that I don't feel comfortable doing. But there are other kinds of improv that are not like that I really do enjoy and I like, and it's fun. Like being a kind of pseudo scary character at Spooky World and trying to talk up customers and joke and laugh and be silly and funny. Like that kind of improv is great. But like if you were to like try to stick me in a comedy troupe on a stage in a big theater, I'd be like, no, this is not my thing. I mean, I love watching that kind of improv, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? I don't want to do that kind of improv.
Right.
But I do lots of other improv, like as the DM and as a player and at Spooky World. There's all kinds of improv that I do. And And I really have been trying to lean more into that, which is related to this discussion about collaborative storytelling and DMing and stuff like
It's a
that.
more organic way of improving. It's like an intuitive improvisation.
Yeah.
Where you're taking in the situation around you and you're reacting to it.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, okay, you're the nun, you're the priest. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
Why does he get to be the priest?
Greg.
I actually want to follow on before we get to Greg's turn with another. Their answers made me think of something else that I'd like to add to mine.
Greg's like,
Just
do
a
I get to talk?
I want Greg to get a chance to go last, so it isn't just me tailing on at the very end. So it's like them talking about avoiding combat made me think about the fact that, like, when we do get into combat, like, I love tactics. Like I did, and it's not just that, like, Kate is a min-maxer and Kate is hyper competitive, because I know I'm competitive, but I think it's something where it's like being military.
Yeah.
Right, and then in that sense of, like, teamwork and collaborative storytelling, right, like getting to see everybody come together and do all these cool things that they design their characters to do, and, like, you know, just feel like, and yes, for me, like, feel like it's like I did all the things that I could do with my character, and I did them at the right time because I'm a perfectionist, and that's but it's just, I mean, if nothing else but to inform the people who listen to our podcast, like, sometimes I take it a little bit over the top, but I really do. I love the fun of, like, seeing the group gel effectively in combat and have everything go and do some really cool things.
I understand.
So
okay. Greg, what do you like most about D&D?
First and foremost, I'm a storyteller. That is the major thing that I am. I'm a writer, so for me, having a story that evolves based upon input from everyone else is something that's very interesting to me and fulfilling in the way that affects what the story outcome is, as well as how you react to the situations that are presented within those stories.
Okay.
A lot of the time when I think about what situations our characters are put in, sometimes I'm the one that says, that's an evil guy. Like, I'm really not sure about that. And no one's ever listened to me, and I've been correct. But sometimes you just get certain feelings about things and situations, and your part in those situations where you feel ultimately not justified in your actions, but you feel like, hey, I understand where this is, I know what's going on here, and we should do this, you know, and that feeds off of what Kate was saying, like with the strategy sessions that we sometimes have based upon what our characters are doing. A lot of times, as we know, I like to damage a lot of things, but sometimes that's not my role, you know. A lot of times my role is to be observer. So I try to be very observant of things and listen. And sometimes those things work out well for us if I pay attention, which a lot of the times I try to pay attention to how something is said, how something is worded, or just how the description of the situation is presented to us, you know. And those writer's instincts, I would be like, okay, if I were a writer, what would I do with this situation? How would I play this out? So those things kind of play in my head because I have the ever omniscient voice that's always going on no matter what, writing in my head all the time. So, you know, a lot of the time with D&D, it's a very good way to kind of portray all of those things and act out all of those things and just feel like you're part of a greater story, especially since we record the podcast. Everyone else who's involved with that, and you listeners too are involved with that, because not only do we like doing this for ourselves, but we like doing this for all of you too.
We hope you're liking the story.
Yes. So
I'm only just now grokking just how many of our characters' backstories are all tied into Greg's character backstories.
Greg is really the storyteller, like,
He's the glue.
rock foundation of our group. I mean, obviously Chris is an amazing storyteller as well. But Greg just has some really, like, just stellar ideas about character development. And when he comes to us about it, I think it very much creatively sparks us.
It does, and all that feeds back into the main story. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so
Okay.
What about
Okay.
you? Did you answer?
I did.
Yeah.
Talk
Okay,
about
that's right. It was
collaborative.
we
before Kate.
shuffled a
Okay,
little, yeah.
I'm paying
Yeah.
attention. I promise.
Oh,
I'm not.
I just have one more thing to say. I was going to say, I do like doing the collaborative story building that we've been doing lately, because I think that that is also a fun way to kind of put a little piece of ourselves in an adventure. If it isn't something that's written by you, if it's something that we're doing that's an already made unit where we're adding our own personalities and our own experiences to. And I think that's fun also, by being able to more personalize pre-content that's
Yeah.
already out there and
Yeah.
making it more our own.
I agree.
Or the occasional, I want to fight something, John. Make us fight
That
something.
was awesome. But no, moving the story in ways that are flavorful, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, hey, we need a fight. We're bored. We haven't had a fight. Please, bored. Please, can we have a fight?
It's okay.
It's okay.
He knows.
My barbarian
We were
wants to
bored.
hit things.
It was way too much
We
set
were
up.
all struggling in that.
Yeah,
in
that was
that
it was
arc.
way too much setup, and yeah, that whole thing just did not flow well.
Okay, so moving a little bit outside of Dungeons and Dragons, what other types of games do you play? I can tell you that I've been playing Magic for 31 years, and we have occasionally played board games like
haven't had a board game in a long time.
like Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. We've played the original Betrayal at House on the Hill. We've done Cards Against Humanity and a variety of other things.
Black cards.
Well, I mean, personally, myself, mostly I play Magic. That's pretty much what the game I play outside of D&D. Kate, what do you like to play outside of D&D?
I mean, I'll jump on the. Technically speaking, I think it's pushing 30 years on Magic the Gathering, because my first foray was when Sarah and Jeremy introduced me to it in 8th grade, which is now almost 30. By this fall, I think it is officially
fall
going to
will
be
be
30
30
years.
years.
Holy
We're not dating
crud.
ourselves.
Which is
Right.
not Jeremy from Old Rolling Dice.
No, different
this is
Jeremy.
that
A Jeremy
old-
from our
another
past.
old friend. Yes, yes. Yeah, so Magic the Gathering is definitely one. Other games, geez, yeah, like kind of in recent years having a house and being kind of like the de facto party host since I moved home to New Hampshire in 2012, right? Like the Cards Against Humanity and Exploding Kittens,
Exploding Kittens, yeah.
all the silly fun things that Skip-Bo,
Unstable
which I've learned,
Unicorns.
Uno, Unstable Unicorns. What's the other one we've been playing?
Butts in
recently?
Space.
Yes.
Butts in Space. There was another one. What else?
Spank the Yeti.
Spank the, yeah,
That one's
which
really fun.
I mean, there's the added layer now, which is like, as de facto hosts, we don't have sitters all the time, so sometimes there are young ears. So how can we take some of these more crude games and make them less crude? Not that I haven't also played like your more
Just leave it at
traditional,
innuendo they don't understand.
traditional card games. Let's see here, not categories. I mean, I've done all that kind of stuff, but like. Oh man, Words with Friends. What's the board game that Words with Friends is based on? Because my brain won't find
Scrabble?
it. Scrabble, yes, that, yeah. The more traditional board games too, I definitely did a fair amount of those, especially when I was younger. And sometimes now as a grown up, although we haven't had as many board game nights lately, just with
Yeah, we need to
schedule.
get back
So,
to do some more board
next
games.
Friday,
Yes.
July 4th.
I'm excited.
Sarah, you've already talked about playing Repo and Final Fantasy, right?
Yes. So I do a lot of online gaming. Final Fantasy XIV Online has become a ginormous part of my life. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
I like have a complete life inside that MMO, and it's a pretty amazing game. I highly recommend it. It's free to play up through
Up to level 70 includes the first
Up to
two
level
expansions.
including the award-winning Heavens Board. No,
That's a meme.
thank you, Squeenix.
That's a meme about the game.
But for real, it's a great game. And if you ever want to find me in there, I'm Shaluna Moonchild. I live on Madeline. Yeah, I play Repo, which is a really fun game that you get to go and repossess items that are worth cash for the tax man as like little robots running around in this world. It has a lot of jump scares. It's like a kind of a horror kind of thing.
Cool.
So you're like running away from these monsters that can easily kill you, or like gnomes that are running around and you have to like pick them up and smash them, or they'll like take the stuff out of your cart and damage them so they're not worth as much. I've been playing a lot of Peak lately, which is another multiplayer game. It is Peak. Okay. It is. It's another multiplayer game where you and your friends are trying to escape an area where your plane has crashed. So you have to climb up a mountain together.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's
Interesting.
you can throw your friends off a mountain. you can kill them accidentally or on purpose if you need their stuff.
That's fine.
I'm not saying I've ever done that.
I'm not saying that you haven't, though.
I'm not saying I haven't, though. So that's super fun. I also play... There's been some other ones that have been recent. It's super not suitable for work, but Schedule 1, which is all about making drugs, which is super fun as well.
Making drugs.
Making drugs, making fake drugs. I promise I don't make them in real life. I don't do that. And Discord has become, is kind of like a social media platform. We're on Discord.
Sure. Yeah, we're on Discord. Yep.
It's really become a good outlet for me because I can VC with friends and we're playing these games together and we stream them. I have other streamers that we co-stream and
Sure.
super fun.
Okay.
So
And John, you play Final Fantasy with Sarah, is that right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
he's a legacy player. He's been playing Final Fantasy for over 10 years.
It was cool.
Pretty much.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy 14 version 1.0.
No, I remember when it first came out, I heard nonsense. So, yes.
So bad that they blew up the world and started over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, what else do you play, John?
Bold of you to assume I play anything else.
Maybe you don't.
We spend a lot of time in Final Fantasy.
I mean, I get in on your Magic games.
Magic, yep.
Yeah, so we played. Yeah. So we played it.
Yeah,
Magic together.
Sarah does
and-
play some Magic sometimes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so sometimes have fun with deck building and things like that. Although you're usually the one that builds my decks for.
I do like building decks for people.
He likes to touch our decks.
He does. Yeah, but the decks have to be just the right size
All of my decks were built like
and not too
this.
powerful. Chris does not like very powerful decks.
I try to keep it in mid-range.
But yeah, honestly, beyond that, as far as actual games go, my gaming is usually in Final Fantasy 14. But can we just pretend that I do things outside of games? Just say that actually I have a life, at least as far as the listeners are concerned?
Yeah, this guy had been bugging me to try this game for like 2 or 3 years already.
Had it been that long?
I think it had been at least
Yeah, a
2
while.
years. And we both, actually, a bunch of us all came down with COVID all at the same time, right before Christmas. Like
I was
2.5
so
years ago.
This is one of the years when we lost, yeah, we lost game time and we lost Christmas, I think, the way that year
Yes,
timed out.
I was
Yeah,
home alone
yeah,
for Christmas because
everybody
even though my sister was in town from the West Coast.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't.
And so we were all home with COVID, and John was like, just download the free trial. Just try it. Just try it.
Drug dealer.
First one's
Drug
free.
dealer. The first
one's
one's
free.
free. And within like a week and a half, he was buying me the entire game. And now I'm probably in there more than he is.
Greg, what about you?
I can't say that I play Final Fantasy, so
He hates listening to us talk about it. I'm so sorry.
I just tune it out actually. But
Because you already mentioned,
he doesn't relate.
You already
Yeah,
mentioned
we get
Butts
it.
in Space and
Yes.
Spank the Yeti.
I actually played an old game. I'm trying to remember the name. I think it was EverQuest, or I played one of those really old
World of Warcraft or
World
EverQuest?
of Warcraft. That's
Is that what it was? Okay.
played
I
the
had a
original EverQuest, too.
level 60 undead mage, Annika,
Nice.
that I fire mage that I played with, which I haven't played since that time, unfortunately. But I do play Magic badly, of course. I could do better with that. I also enjoy computer games, so I was playing Diablo, so I'll play that. I'm looking forward to playing the Baldur's Gate, the new one that just came out.
I forgot to mention that I've been playing Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate. Okay, cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I play a lot of board games, some other card games like Oh Fruck.
Oh man, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
Betrayal at House on the Hill. Chris's haunt games.
I mean,
forgot
Chris is,
about all that.
Greg is usually the one that brings the stack of games with us.
Greg
when we
and Chris
do.
have some amazing board games between the two of them.
Yeah, a lot.
You can thank nerd Mr. Wheaton for that because he used to have
and his tabletop game night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
Which I used to love those podcasts, and it sucks that that's not being done anymore. But I used to look forward to learning about new games, and a lot of those things helped my game purchases over the course of time.
Yeah. Does anybody else do like brain teaser kind of games? And like I know Sarah, back when
Jackbox games
back
and-
when Words with Friends was a big thing. Like me and
Yeah.
Sarah and Sarah's dad, we were like on there all the
Oh
time.
my
That was
gosh.
when I was living in
My
Maryland.
dad is like the world's with friends.
He's a shark.
champion.
Yes.
I am terrible
So
at those
it's
kind
like
of
He
games.
would send me like a 300-point word, and I'd just like drop my cell phone and be like, I quit. Rage quit.
Yeah. I used to do that, and then like there's some more kind of Tetris-y flavored things that Liliana's into them now, so now I'm back into them a little bit. And then like the lockdowns Wordle, I joined that whole crew of people who was doing Wordle all the time, and I still occasionally go and dabble because it's like I do like that kind of stimulation. If I'm just having a
Candy
really
Crack.
blot out day, it's nice to just kind of
Candy Crush.
wake up the brain. I never got into that weirdly, but yeah.
I used to
some-
play Angry Birds.
Mahjong, kind of other like what can I do on a cell phone if I'm on an airplane or just
Yeah.
like
That's hailing back to
multitask my brain.
to the old school
Cell phones.
Yeah.
cell phone games.
I actually missed a pretty big one. I do play other tabletop RPGs like Vampire the Masquerade,
That's great, yeah.
which airs
DM
on
Jeremy.
Twitch at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time.
DM Jeremy.
Shameless
DM
self-promotion.
Jeremy's
on Tuesdays, right?
on Tuesday nights through DM_Jeremy of Old Men Rolling Dice, based out of Canada, eh?
Hey.
Where I play. I like how you all did that in Unitarian. I love it. Where I'm currently playing a really, really mentally unstable vampire named Tony. And we're living in Toronto. It's called Blood in the Six.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a super fun game. But I also have learned to play Pathfinder,
Yep.
as well as some other flavors of D&D, like Humblewood, where you get to be like animals.
Yeah.
And I've been learning Warhammer as well recently. Yep.
Yeah. In the
Nice.
past, I played Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse and Ars Magica, and I played GURPS and all kinds of other things. In video games, I started with Pong,
Yes.
and I went up through like PlayStation 2 before I kind of got out of the consoles. And the last PC game I played was Diablo 3, because 4 is out right now.
4 is out now.
Right, so 3 is the last one.
have that one as well.
Was the last one that I played.
So he played Pong, and he was never the same again.
Never the same.
I will say that I've also played Leisure Suit Larry. Do with that
I've
what you
seen
will.
that game looks so off kilter. I've played Counter-Strike if we want to go way back, but that was a long time ago.
Okay, so this question is from Jane Goddard, who follows us on Facebook.
Yay!
Jane wants to know, what are your favorite adventure-friendly snacks?
Like in game or like real life?
I think she's saying like when we're here to play, what do we eat for snacks? Although as John stated, we don't do it on the mic.
Try not to.
But before
Because Chris yells at me when I do.
before we start, and then during our break, and then after, what kind of snacks do you guys like to eat?
Oreos.
Oreos. There's always a stack of Oreos at Kate's and Chris's.
Yeah, we actually have a big stack of chips and pretzels and Oreos and everything over there at the end of our table. Sarah, you like the candies that we have that are Hershey's and Reese's,
anything
right?
chocolate.
Anything chocolate.
Anything chocolate. What are my other like go-to D&D snacks? Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. Buzz. I used to
this
come with a
podcast
coffee.
runs on coffee.
I used to come with a coffee even when we played on Friday nights, because coffee helps me helps me focus for some reason.
Sure.
Wouldn't have
Probably the
anything to
ADHD.
do with ADHD, no.
And honestly, just the chips and things mostly.
Okay. Kate, what do you like?
Oh man, yeah, we got all the good things: the cookies, the chips.
You've got some Milanos up
Sometimes
there.
we have ice cream. We always have a pretty good stash of
Yeah,
ice cream in
yeah.
the house. Whatever food is available to graze on. Every now and then we'll do like a foodie friends thing if we have more time before a session where we can, grill, or I can cook something. I do love cooking. I don't get to do it as much anymore, so sometimes cooking for the group is fun. But
Kate makes an
time-consuming.
awesome
It's fun.
cheesy garlic bread.
Yes.
Garlic bread is always a
She
good
does.
choice.
Kate makes an
and
awesome
I
a lot of things.
And then
Kate does love to cook.
So obviously all this off mic, I will say, like, if it's, there are nights where some of us are just desperate for food even when we're playing. So like as a rule, it's like for those we would specifically pick, like if we've got to be snacking while we're playing and Chris allows it because he knows we need it, we pick things that are quiet.
Like soup.
So something we can chew that off the mic that won't make lots of really nasty noises.
Really,
although
really
as a
soft
rule, we do that.
cookies.
What are some of the
Just
ones you
little-
like, John? Don't you like gummy things?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Candies, yeah.
If Kate's got her big old bag of gummy bears here, I'm usually rating that.
There's still
John and I can destroy a bag of Swedish fish.
fish, gummies.
Sometimes on my way down, if we stop to grab something to eat, something like that, I'll usually grab like a big old brownie or something like that. It's all that sugar's not good for me. I know.
You brought cookies before too, I think.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy
snaps
Asian candies and snacks. We're always interested and curious to try those as a group, like all the different Kit Kats and stuff like that.
Did I ever
Yeah,
bring
we would-
over any of that? I brought over like ice cream mochi at one time.
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah. And I've done, it's probably an anime thing, but I bought a variety pack of Kit Kats specifically to share with the group one
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting
Yeah.
one.
Green tea
remember
Kit
that.
Kats.
Green- yes.
Those are good.
Chris is like, nope.
Greg, do you snack much when we play D&D?
Not really.
I
but
don't
like,
see you sitting there like
potato chips.
eating
that
stuff.
burn
Greg
me.
is the
I do
only
like
responsible
those.
Greg
one
likes
here.
the hottest potato chips
Potato
I can
chips?
find.
Like
Yes.
cheeses. We get this when
Spicy.
people are in cheesy moods too, and I always have
yeah.
lots of cheese. in
We
my
are all
house.
connoisseurs of cheese.
Yeah.
Yes. Lots
Yeah.
of cheese.
And we don't just mean in the way that we act.
I like nacho cheese flavored Doritos, and I like
Yes.
anything chocolate pretty much. That's pretty much it. for
Nacho
me.
cheese Doritos,
Yeah.
Kit Kats,
Kit Kats.
Reese's,
Yeah. Chocolate frosted donuts.
Chocolate chip
regular
cookies.
chocolate frosted donuts, no sprinkles.
And no
Yes.
Cool Ranch Doritos.
No Cool
no
Ranch
Cool Ranch Doritos, those are not allowed.
No.
Dunkin's is a common thing before and during D&D sessions of late.
Yes.
Please
Yeah,
sponsor
if you're
us.
on the is Duncan just on the East Coast? If you're on the East Coast, Duncan
No,
is
they're
great.
everywhere now.
Other than the
Oh, yeah.
like
They're kind
West
of
Coast,
expanding.
if you
They're
get
pretty
out
well expanded.
California and Washington State, that's
You're not gonna
stretch.
find as
You're not
many,
going
at
to find
least.
much out there, but everything out to that point, they're pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's where they don't have to push too hard against Starbucks.
But we live in
Just
New
the
England,
coffee
and New
machine.
England runs on Dunkin's. So
It's not a lie. It's the truth.
There are places where there are Duncans on the opposite side of the street from each other.
literally in Boston, there's like a
on the
Dunkin's
opposite side of the street.
every other block, if not more.
Fighting with the Starbucks, of course.
Yes.
Greg, what is your favorite music?
Ooh, that's a good question. I actually have gotten into the hobby of vinyl records, so I have quite a few vinyl records.
Greg is
and-
kind of our music aficionado
he
at
is.
the table.
So I actually enjoyed listening to old school records on my record player, which some of it is jazz, some of it is rock music.
You like Foo Fighters, right?
I do like them. Classic rock like Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac, any of those kind of things are really cool. It's just interesting to be able to listen to music kind of as it was originally intended. There,
Sure.
no, high class, high gain filters or anything like that. Just pure pops and whistles, and just the sound is very
Yeah.
enjoyable. I love it.
Yeah, I like mostly like hard rock and metal stuff, although I've expanded out into things like Lorena McKenna, which I love. But yeah, I got a Megadeth CD that was remastered at one point. And I listened to the remastered and I'm like, why does this sound so weird?
Sounds off, right?
It does. It sounds really, really off. But I listen to old school Metallica, some Megadeth. My favorite band is Breaking Benjamin. I listened to 3 Days Grace for a while. I like Tool, and yeah, just mostly like rock. I used to really be into some heavier bands like Pantera.
I actually saw them in a concert. My very
You
first
saw
live
Pantera?
concert, Pantera was playing.
Really?
Can't
Yes, it
see
was
you
a
at a
doesn't seem like
Pantera
Pantera right
concert.
I'm a man of different coats.
I've been to like 3 concerts in my entire life, and one of them was Megadeth with, I think, Corrosion of Conformity or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
Nice.
I actually I had my hair all long, and I was
I remember.
Chris used to have some long, luxurious hair.
I that was the only time that I ever moshed, and I did it for about 5 seconds, and I tried to get out of the pit and had a really hard time because I'm like, 150 pounds soaking wet, and everybody's bigger than me, and trying to get out of the pit with people who are bigger than you is not easy. And then I did some crowd surfing, and then that was the one and only concert that I ever did moshing or crowd surfing.
I think you would be better at crowd surfing than moshing.
Yeah, the crowd surfing was much better, and people liked me being up there because I was so light. and I got pushed up like to the stage, so like they'd throw me off, and the bouncers catch me and then set me down, and let me go back in. Anyway, Sarah, you are, as you mentioned, you have this long history with music.
Oh my God.
What do you like for music? I used to go and watch you sing. Was that a jazz band? Would you call it a jazz band?
Yeah, it was a
Brothers.
21-piece big band orchestra.
Yes, and
Called
Sarah.
the Freeze Brothers Big Band,
Sarah has an amazing voice.
based out of Concord, New Hampshire. I'm pretty sure they're still playing.
Oh, okay.
I'm no longer their singer. Sad face.
A sad face.
I retired a while ago. Which sounds really weird to say at my age, but it is what it is. My music tastes are eclectic, to say the least.
Okay.
I would say if you actually looked at my playlists / I do still have a CD cabinet. I have everything from like Italian madrigals from the 1400s all the way up to like Tool and Megadeth and Nine Inch Nails. I like have every Nine Inch Nails album that was ever released. And God, I recently started listening to, I've gotten into Breaking Benjamin a bit more.
Yep.
Oh my God, Sleep Token has become kind of an obsession of mine recently.
I want to say that Sarah, for John's Keys from the Golden Vault campaign, Sarah recommended that we make playlists for our characters, which I had never done before, and I did it, and it was a fun exercise.
And then we never released them.
I didn't get
I
to
just
do
want
it
to
yet.
give Sarah the credit because that was a really cool idea, and I had never even thought of that. So
Yeah,
that was cool.
It's really fun to play with music, and I would say that my tastes definitely grow as I meet different people, and I like to get music from people.
Sure.
I like to exchange things and learn what they like and listen to new things and experience new things. Again, being in a big online community,
Yeah.
I've discovered a lot of new music, and
Makes
it
sense.
makes me so happy. So, yeah, I can go anything from scream metal down to like elevator jazz, like and big band music. So
Gotcha. How about you, John? What kind of music do you listen to? I've never heard you really talk about bands that you like or anything.
I have 2 musical moods.
Moods.
Lo-fi and smooth jazz,
Oh, I do love lo-fi. Kate and I love lo-fi. Go ahead.
or symphonic metal.
Nice.
Pretty much
like Camelot and
yeah, Camelot, Nightwish.
okay.
Sometimes
Tarja Epica.
Within Temptation.
don't know if I've heard them specifically yet, but things along that line. Yeah,
Dragon Force.
Dragon Force
That's
in
speed metal.
moderation.
Moderation.
That's speed metal.
That's true. That's
intense.
true.
Intense.
That's right.
Yeah, that gets overwhelming very quickly. What's the other one?
Symphonic metal is definitely cool.
I mean, crud, you're making me trying to think of names, and I'm terrible with names. What was the
I've gotten into K-pop.
yeah,
So I was into K-pop.
but basically, yeah. I mean,
That's cool.
I like music after a fashion, but I wouldn't say it's a major passion of mine. So
Gotcha. Okay. Kate, what do you like for music?
I'll fall into the similar vein of Sarah is like a little bit of choir nerd, but also very just eclectic. And I mean, it's like I've got older parents. They're true baby boomers. I was very sheltered growing up from a musical standpoint. So like my musical love starts with like, just good old classical music and, the oldies, and I mean the true oldies, like the 60s and 70s and 50s oldies, not what we call oldies now, which is 2000s, which is horrifying, right?
Oh, it makes me feel so sick to my stomach.
Like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Doors, the Monkees, Peter, Paul, and Mary, like all that kind of, like that was my bread and butter growing up. And then when I left high school, along with like, jazz and just a cappella music and all the kinds of things, a little bit of show tunes, right? That I'd built my love of doing choirs and musical theater.
I love musical theater.
Before the end of high school. So
Dr. Horrible's sing-along block.
What's that?
Yeah, Dr. Horrible.
I actually
Dr.
didn't learn
Horrible.
about Dr. Horrible until my Navy years, but yeah, that kind of stuff is really cool too. I mean, I've always loved Christmas music, any kind. I have everything from like classical, the Messiah, through folk music, Celtic woman, even some country Christmas music, which Chris hates. And
We do not
sometimes he
play
lets me
Mariah
listen
Carey. No.
I tried to use the word hate. I'm not a fan.
Strongly
I don't get to listen to it if you're
Dislikes.
awake and present. So you feel.
Strongly dislikes.
I do love Celtic music, so Enya and Lorena McKenna I have for a long time. In college, like I expanded a lot into things like that, and then like techno and house music, Linkin Park, angry music, like things that had good beat for sports events and working out and stuff like that. Game and anime music. There's some really wonderful music, like from even the older Final Fantasy games and
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
animes when I used to watch more
Soken
anime
knows how
in
to
college,
write a
yes.
right?
Write a good tune.
Let's see here.
Do you lahi?
You lie?
I
Symphonic
will
metal,
sing lahi. Sorry, no.
speed metal, alternative stuff like The Killers and Muse, Evanescence, big huge star for Evanescence. That was part of college and onward. And then as an adult in a house with Chromecast where we just stream stuff, so we have a background on the TV all day long, then anything out of the YouTube universe. So like Zen meditation, Native American or Asian flavored kind of chill music, lo-fi.
Lo-Fi
Girl, please
Lots of
sponsor
Lo-Fi
us. Chill Step, Liquid Mind used to be a big one, not as much now. Like epic music mixes, soundtracks, like just all kinds of stuff.
I actually have a Discord channel where we have what's called a low mic channel, where when you go in there, you're automatically muted, so nobody talks in there. And you can turn on a music bot that plays nothing but lo-fi.
that's neat.
And we go in there and we hang out together during work hours, because a bunch of us work from home.
Right.
And we listen to lo-fi together, and then we have like a chat channel where we can type,
Yeah.
but nobody like talks, so it's
Right.
very chill.
Okay, so jumping back into D&D for our last question, we sort of compiled the question that we got that relates to questions that we received from our listeners, Greg Gould and Tim Baird. So the question is, what inspiration do you pull from either designing a homebrew campaign or in tailoring a pre-written adventure? So let me start by saying that I ran Spacefarers for close to 3 years, and I pulled inspiration largely from movies. We have episodes named like The Thing, like the movie The Thing, and T2, like the movie T2, and Aliens, like the movie Aliens.
I've never heard of any of those movies.
I don't think I've seen any of them.
I just pull right from movies a lot of the time and from my favorite TV shows if I'm doing a homebrew campaign. I'm trying to think if I've ever actually run a pre-written adventure. I did run one that was basically I think it was the 3.5 edition of D&D equivalent of Curse of Strahd. It was basically the Ravenloft story, and I did run that, and I think I largely ran that from the book just the way it was. Although I do remember drawing inspiration for one part of it because I had seen the remake of Dawn of the Dead, directed by Zack Snyder, which was very controversial because the zombies were running really fast and the purists did not like that. But there was a scene in that where, spoiler alert, a zombie person who was writing messages on like a whiteboard so that people from a far off roof could read what the guy was writing using their binoculars and telescopes. I think I phrased that wrong, but the guy was not a zombie. But then he became a zombie, and then he lifted up this board that just kind of had like blood smeared on it when he was a zombie, like he was still trying to do what he was doing when he was alive. And I thought that was really interesting. So in the Curse of Strahd, Ravenloft, whatever it was, 3.5, Expedition to Castle Ravenloft, I think was the name. I had a sequence where like a bard had been handing them notes and giving them certain direction, and he showed up as a zombie and he handed them this piece of paper with a bunch of blood on it. And so I pulled that from the movie, from the remake of Dawn of the Dead, directed by Zack Snyder. Yeah. But let me pass it over to someone else. So John, with Keys from the Golden Vault, or anything you've ran, because you ran Tomb of Annihilation as well, and you did, when you ran pre-podcast, you ran us through Curse of Strahd, because you were very nice. I asked you to run that for me, and you did it. And then the second half of that campaign was your own homebrew campaign. So you've done both pre-written adventures and homebrew stuff. So what sort of inspiration do you pull from with regards to the homebrew stuff and the pre-written adventures?
So, for the pre-written adventures, I do tend to stay pretty close to the module as written, as appropriate. I mean, I have nothing against modifying as needed, but when I do, I mostly actually draw inspiration from the backstories of the characters themselves that you hand to me to see how I can adapt that. And probably just kind of a general years of reading books on how stories tend to flow, kind of thing. Since they're in a pre-made module, there's not a lot of flexibility to move the story around too much.
Right.
So you kind of can stay in that scaffolding, and you don't have to pull specific pieces out of other things.
Yeah, I want to second your backstory one for the Spacefarers game. I did draw from all your backstories for that.
Okay. For the homebrew one I did, now you're making me remember way back when.
Machinations?
Machinations of Astus.
I called it the Machinations of Astus, which it's had to do with it was supposed to be just a continuation from the 5th edition Curse of Strahd, and there's, spoiler alert, there's this whole section where there's some entombed gods and stuff like that, and they leave you story hooks in there to play off of.
We played with them.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun.
So,
Great. That's awesome.
a lot of that was, I had a general idea of what direction to go. A lot of it inspired by, strangely of all things, my enjoyment of particle physics.
What?
This does not surprise me.
Record scratch. What?
The idea of multiple worlds coming together and interacting with each other in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Kind of is what led me to this whole thing of what would happen if the world of Curse of Strahd and the world of the Sword Coast actually came together. And,
So like a convergence before it was a thing.
right,
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so from that, I kind of had a framework of a story. And then for the individual sessions, it was just kind of really off the cuff for the most part. I kind of had a basic idea of what was going to happen, and then just kind of let things play out.
Okay.
With the characters.
Thoughts on this kind of stuff, Kate?
All right, so yeah, I mean, my experience being more limited, having mostly done just the pre-written things. Like, I mean, as a start, I would take things like the cast being, if it's a pre-written module where I've been playing as a character and now it's my turn to DM and my character won't be there, like coming up with something in story, because I'm a story-centric player, that would explain why that would happen. I always think it's nice to kind of add that flavor, and then just to kind of shout out to the rest of the group. Like all the times when we managed to tie in backstory, which I think are amazing. We've seen people kind of in various campaigns pull in older homebrew cast characters or older characters who were in certain campaigns, and to see them kind of like make indirect appearances or even sometimes direct appearances. I think that's been super cool. I know Sarah's done that with, I think, Candlekeep. And then just kind of like, big picture stuff. Like I do taking sourcebook content and then making it your own, or building on homebrew to expand story. That's kind of I do have some things fishing around in my brain. He was talking about multiverse stuff, and actually I'm looking at potentially doing a mini campaign somewhere in the future that's going to tie on it's going to hinge on Van Richten's guide, which is like the poster child of that example that you just gave, John, and then it may like I have the character Syndra, who in my continuity has done certain things in various campaigns, but in Sarah's continuity has passed on spoilers in part of a totally separate campaign.
Actually showed up in an entirely different D&D group's
and
campaign.
I have ways that I want to tie that together in story, because I think I can do something really cool, potentially with Van Richten's or homebrew to play with that concept. And then Chris's homebrew world for Harken Wrath and the Dragonborn campaign. We have all these cool backstories floating around and kind of certain things that have been left unexplained. So the secret cabal of scientists, I have a whole flavor of like a follow-on, mini campaign that I would like to do. So, but to play on that and expand on story, I have all these cool ideas for how I'm going to leverage the existing material and some of the backstories, maybe not even just from the Harken Wrath campaign, but from others.
Do you think that there are any external media or something like that tends to be inspirational to that? Or is it just kind of a conglomeration in your head like it is mine?
I get stories floating around at the edge of my brain, and then I start storyboarding things and coming up with key little details, and then everything comes together, and that's kind of where I'm at in planning those. This being my first time that I will do something like this and trying to find time around all the rest of my crazy life. Like I have bits and pieces, and then sometimes it'll be like a picture or something. Like I remember, I think we found a picture of something that suited Machinations of Ostis really well, and then I've had things where I bought a D&D miniature and then we fit story to fit the miniature, which was really fun too and creative, and I like that creative process. So all kinds of things, but
So
largely story centric for me. How do we drive the story? How do we explore things that haven't been explored?
Okay, so Greg.
From my perspective, me also being a relative newbie DM, I was trying to go with the source material I had from two different perspectives. I was thinking that I was going to do one, but ended up doing the other because I was looking at two different adventures to do.
You're talking about you did Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, right?
Yeah.
Right, which you'd been looking at, Strixhaven before that or something?
So I found a way through story to kind of combine those two together in a way that would make sense for it to happen the way it happened, and have Rael, my character from Points of Light, play a part in it, so that the characters were taken and transported to the universe of the Radiant Citadel, which was a point of entry in the multiverse, if you will. So
you drew some inspiration from a past character in a past campaign.
Yes, so that made it easier for me to explain why these characters would have been sent to this particular place and point in time. And again, being a storyteller, I wanted to tell a story that made sense to me and to everyone else, but I also, in looking at the material, I wanted to kind of draw upon some of my upbringing and background, because I did a lot of characters and it was more of a Afrocentric, I would say, type of adventure. So I took it from that perspective in my approach to how I presented it to everyone playing. So I think if you feel a particular draw to a adventure, whether it's something you come up with on your own or something that you rephrase or represent in the way that you tell it. It's always going to be something where you have a stake in it some way or another that makes it your story, even though it might be something that someone else wrote or someone else.
So, in other words, don't be afraid to improvise and to take a story in your own direction.
Which I'm not afraid to do that, you know.
You personalized it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very good at telling what I want to tell as far as content, story, and luckily I had players who made it very easy for me to do so, even though you were very challenging, all of you, like trying to beat me down, which I was like, I need to make this more
I'm going to win at D&D no matter the cost.
Yes. So that was my experience.
Okay, so Greg did I think it was 3 episodes that were Journey to the Radiant Citadel, so people should check that out. And John is doing Keisha and the Golden Vault, and you did Tomb of Annihilation. Sarah has done a bunch of awesome candle keeps. So Sarah, what inspiration do you pull from either designing a Herbroom campaign or in tailoring a pre-written adventure such as Candle Keep?
Wow.
Or even just like the adventures that maybe you've run for other groups. It doesn't have to be for us.
Yeah.
The fun thing about Candlekeep, especially as a pre-written module, quote unquote, I use that very loosely, is that it is 14 different stories that can all be run separately. They can be dropped into a campaign. They can be used to customize different campaigns. And as a result of that, I had to find a way to get my players there and have a reason to be there and kind of weave a story together and like story to story within that module actually make sense, that they're still staying at Candlekeep and they're still looking at books and finding new things. And as Kate already touched upon, I actually pulled upon our characters from Curse of Strahd campaign, which we ran before we were a podcast, and had all of my new characters from Candlekeep go visit them and get, inspiration of where they should go next. So I found a way to actually incorporate the characters from our previous campaign prior to a podcast. And as a DM, that was a really cool moment to watch everybody's faces light up as they realized what I did.
It was cool.
And it felt good. So I drew some inspiration there. The modules themselves had a lot of wiggle room. So I had also taken things that were written for a level 1 and made them level 5 because I wanted to start you off as a higher level. So I, adjusted the different interactions. I added some fights. I know specifically in the Book of the Raven, it was really thin on the content. So I legit wrote an entire encounter in the town. I added the Pigglesworth characters.
We love the Pigglesworth.
And the second time I actually ran that book for another group, and they latched onto the Pigglesworth where
did the Pigglesworth come from? Did it just kind of appear, or was
I had been looking through the monster manual and I found this really cool pig thing that had come from, I think it was the Rick and Morty expansions. Awesome. And I was like, that's a really cool creature and I want to make that. So I ported it over and I made it a C whatever. In case you actually decided to fight them. And I turned them into characters, and I made that, I actually made the actual journey through the path of the Book of the Raven didn't even exist in the module. So I wrote a bunch of encounters for you guys to go through.
That's cool.
And I think a couple of them I kind of went, all right, so if we're going here on time, I'll make this one happen. If they're here on time, maybe we'll skip this, I think I did some will-o'-the-wisps. Like, I used that opportunity to play with some of the things in the monster manual that I'd never, like, seen.
So so the monster manual itself was a lot of the inspiration for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
I think I also, like, drew on, like, dragon lore, and I even brought in some... Because the Book of the Raven does kind of pull on some Ravenloft lore, I, like, brought in some Vistani.
Yes, yes, that's good.
The mists were there.
It's all cool.
That particular campaign I was really proud of because they did a lot of legwork in fleshing it out. And that particular module is really good for like a beginning DM to really learn how to flex their muscles in kind of coming up with their own thing.
Yeah. And running through the keys, I can definitely feel the desire and the challenge of having an overarching storyline to try to tie everything together. Because keys is kind of the same way. Each adventure is kind of a self-contained thing, and to try to have an overarching storyline to encompass all these things is a challenge.
And then you put it in Shakar too, so
Yeah.
you're like tying it into Chris's world.
Trying-
which is an
yeah,
additional
yeah.
layer, which is cool, but also challenging, right?
It
And
is.
Yeah.
I definitely keep my players in mind when I'm doing things too.
Yeah.
I will admit that for the first time ever, I wrote an encounter that I designed a specific way to foil Kate. Because she had a character, or she has a character, Syndra, we've mentioned her a few times, in Candlekeep that has the fireball ability that can just bend around people and not hit things that she doesn't want to hit. And I was designing an encounter with an animated tree, and I knew that there was gonna be a fireball, and I was like, she's just gonna pwn this encounter if I don't find a way to creatively give it another step. It worked a little too well because you got a little frustrated and it felt bad, but it felt good that I problem solved that.
There are times to let your players do their cool thing.
Yeah.
And there are times when their cool thing actually is kind of hindering.
Well, it wasn't necessarily hindering. I actually wanted to find a way to play with it and make it not as, like, broken. So that was fun.
Okay. Cool. Well, that is all the questions that we have. Thank you very much to Jane Goddard, Greg Gould, and Tim Baird for their questions.
Yeah. And everyone
Appreciate
else
that.
who submitted them, we
And
appreciate it.
Everyone else who submitted the questions, we appreciate that very much. We hope that you enjoyed this Knights Roundtable. 5 years of podcasting.
5 years later.
Crazy things.
Let's say
Feels
goodnight
like
to the
10.
listeners. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review anywhere this podcast can be found. Our social media links, plus additional content, can be found on our website at knightsofroleplay.com. Please tell your friends about Knights of Roleplay and spread the word through social media. Your help and support are greatly appreciated.